Runes are dead. Ordinals are dead. The market is going to zero. Outside of Adam just aping at Solana shitters over the weekend, man. How's it going in the trenches?
Bro, you just try to stay awake and alive, man. Just try not to wreck your entire bag aping in too much to this garbage. It's so we can get into the ridiculousness of it all. We got a lot to talk about with Fantasy Top. I know you played around in Fantasy Top. My runes bag is dumping to zero. Solana's going to everything's going at zero, and it's fun. I mean, this is bull market stuff, right? This is like when you recognize there are opportunities, but you are going to get wrecked probably 95% of the time. I mean, this is the way it is. And you see people on the timeline, oh, I don't know who the fuck it was. I'm up $800,000 on this or that. It's like, bro, it's like literally you might as well walk to the corner store, buy yourself a scratch off ticket, because it is hard to pick winners and losers. But we do our best, man. We do our best. So let's get into it, man.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I have here pulled up on my computer, not on the live stream. I'm looking at the top ordinal collections. Node Monkeys is down to 0.3 Bitcoin. Puppets are down to 0.25. Surprisingly, there's been 3 assets that have really held up well so far in this downturn. Quantum Cats are at 0.4.
Yeah.
Which is like 20% under their all-time high of 0.5. OMB has been sitting around 0.4 Bitcoin for a while. And Pizza Ninjas actually has held up pretty well. So props to Trevor. 0.14 for Pizza Ninjas. I saw they're doing another collection. Did you see this?
I didn't see another collection. Oh boy. I saw some partnership with Megapont.
That's what it is. It's called like eggs or something like that.
Yeah, I saw the eggs. I have trauma from those eggs though. I mean, NFT Bull Run 21, there were a lot of egg projects, man. And a lot of that shit went to zero. I don't know if you remember some of the eggs that went down. Fucking dino eggs, or I can't even remember. Somebody'd have to remember.
Well, the most infamous one, and also first, before I do say this one, because everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember this. Make sure everyone retweets the spaces. It's pinned to the top. Make sure that more people could come in and enjoy the conversation of all the market discussion. I know some of our friends are out in Hong Kong enjoying Ordinal Asia, but let's make sure we get some more people in here so they can hear the discussion. And also, if you have any questions, please hit the button in the bottom right-hand corner, purple one. Any questions you have, we'll answer, or just come on stage and hang out with us. It's a small space, intimate. Got a lot of alpha in here. Yeah, the most infamous egg one is, of course, Logan Paul's eggs.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he did it.
That is, he's still not paid anyone out yet.
Did he ever refund anybody's money on that?
No, he did not. He did not. Still scamming. So stay far away. Surprisingly, we haven't seen that many influencer drops this year. We did see French Montana come in and try to do. He partnered with Ordinal Revolution, which I thought was a good play. He came in and they did a free mint, and then he tried to do a charged mint where he did a fractional of his 4 megabyte song that they inscribed on Bitcoin. And so then they tried to fractionalize it as a BRC20 or BRC 420, and it went horrible. I think they ended up issuing refunds because it just did not go as well as they thought. I thought it was kind of weird trying to fractionalize a ordinal. I don't know if you remember the last bull run. Remember the 24 Genesis Mooncat fractional vault? Do you remember that? Where there was
fractionals in our experience, they haven't worked in any form, really.
Never works. And so people have been trying to do it for ordinals, and it hasn't really worked out. Although, this epic sat that was inscribed as a rune was kind of inscribed as a rune. Did you see this happen over the weekend?
We did, yeah. Yep.
So these guys, I was listening to the Ordinal show yesterday. They basically crowdsourced 33.3 Bitcoin, so $2.1 million. It was Elock and Neuro, the guys behind the blobs. They've been in the community since day one. Turns out, though, when the Epic Sat was being auctioned, it was on CoinEx, which is not an American company. So they had to literally go to the Asia communities to crowdsource the funds to then have the Asian community bid it of 33 Bitcoin through the crowdsource, and they ended up getting it. What's up, on-chain hustlers? What are you thinking?
No, I didn't want you guys to get too far. Oh, congrats, Jake. Hi, Adam. How you guys doing?
What's good?
I didn't want you guys to get too far, but after you mentioned runes, I just went to go look at my runes bag, and damn.
He is never look at your bags, bro. That you got to get into that mindset. Don't even lose that wallet. Lose that wallet.
I basically got everything for free, so I'm like, oh, I didn't cash out on some, but you know how it goes in crypto. Mm-hmm. Write it down to zero, Valhalla 0. But I was gonna say something too. With when I saw French Montana and Bitcoin ordinals, I think that was the last day I stopped buying ordinals.
Smart.
To me, that was the hype. Because we saw that happen in ETH, where this celebrities, influencers, artists come in, and it's just some money grab. They're not doing anything here. They don't know this. They don't understand this. So it's I don't know why people didn't catch that, but let's go.
Yeah, right. No kidding at all. I do think some of them will be back. Oh, it looks like Runes Pups Coin. Okay, this isn't the. So there's one that's called Runes Pups Coin. I have here pulled up the runes on Magic Eden. This is not the official one. The official one is Pups World Peace, number 13 or 12, I believe. But here, looking at the top, the top 10 or so on Magic Eden, it does look like they finally fixed their market cap issue. I did see a lot of people complaining, and maybe we'll talk about this for a little bit. There is so much hate for Dog from the Ordinal community. It is, dude. The shots that people are taking, subtly, sarcastically, and direct, is just some of the most insane takes ever. Like, I don't know why people just want to destroy their own industry. It makes no sense. I know, I've been kind of shedding light on the price differences and kind of the volatility of RSIC versus Dog versus some of the other ones. But I want all this shit to go up. Everyone wants Dog to go to zero, which obviously means it's not going to go to zero.
Yep.
But man, so yesterday, Dog was flipped, and I was the first person to post about this. It got flipped, and it still looks like it's still flipped by about $4 million from RSIC. Both are sitting around 220 million. But Magic Eden had Dog pegged to the top, no matter what the price was.
No matter what.
People were, dude, it's mostly, from what I'm seeing, the OMB community and the pups holders are generally the one. It's generally people with an OMB PFP are the one that are hating on Dog, which, to each their own, but they want this shit to go to zero. But Dog was pinned to the top, so even when RSIC flipped it, Dog was still sitting at top, and there was a ton of hate tweets about that.
I mean, you just look, the insider cabal. I mean, you mentioned OMB and how OMB's price hasn't really moved. And I got into maybe we were in a Discord chat and got into this discussion about, well, what causes prices to either moon or stay steady? And often you get it happens because the price is basically controlled by a bunch of insiders, like a bunch of people, and whether it's the founders or team or just close friends or whoever, own the majority of the supply. They don't sell. They just diamond handed, or they can't sell. And then the price doesn't move, and the price can moon. I mean, we've seen it all over the crypto space, right? And if we want to talk about it a little bit later with some of the Solana coins, but just the way they, like with this one that happened over the weekend where it was a fair distribution. What happened when people got that stuff, man? It was just insta dump, right? Everybody was just like, woof, take profits, baby, And so, what happens when you don't have that? And actually was one of my kind of bear thesis on Dog, which was like, dude, you have this huge holder base of like whatever it was, 70,000 people who basically got free money. What's to hold this price up? I've been stunned by how well the price has been maintained. Because few people can just turn down whatever $3,000-$4,000, right? So yeah, it's interesting to see.
I do think it's because Runestone had been live for maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks. If users wanted to sell, they had literally 2 months to do this. So by the time you get the airdrop, you're like, well, what's the point of selling at this point?
Yeah,
right? I've already held through basically a 0.1 Bitcoin all-time high.
For sure.
At some point, you're like, this is either going to zero or I'm going to hold it until I get a new car. Right?
Exactly. I mean, well, that's the thing. It's like the pre-runes. As a pre-rune, I was stunned that, completely wrong in my thesis. I thought those were just going to tank to maybe not zero, but low, right? But they didn't. It was like they held their price. I think there was this kind of idea that, look, this should be $1 billion token. It's on Bitcoin. It's at least $1 billion, right? And so people were doing that math. And frankly, I'm doing that math again. Like we talked about it. What's it at? It's at 220 right now, 220 million. I mean, it's a lot, right? But look, everybody knows this token now. It's not going to zero. So where's its bottom range? And its top range is obviously billions of dollars, obviously, right? So, maybe there's some entry points here that'll start looking smart in 6 months.
Yeah, I agree as well. I got 2 notes here, and then I'm going to call on Dogfather. One of them, these are all related to runes. I saw Dr. Dripta today, who's a good follower, said that he went to the runes deployer of Satoshi Nakamoto, the runes, and he says that there's an inscription on there that says 19% will burn. If you don't know, Satoshi Nakamoto's number 6 rune had a 20% pre-mine. So if this theory is right, then you basically get a supply reduction of nearly 1/5. So, right, I guess that'd be a very Satoshi thing. I thought the more Satoshi thing would just be like, you have this pre-mine and you just don't ever show up, right? You just disappear with this.
Yeah.
And people wonder for years if you're ever going to come back and dump on them.
Yeah.
That would be the true Satoshi thing. But, this will be big for the token. And I think it would solidify itself as probably a top 5 coin if this were to happen, because you'd probably see a ton more people ape because it is a good ticker. And 1% pre-mine is fair because the cost basis to put an image or to inscribe an image of a rune in the top 10, I think, was over 1 Bitcoin. I don't know for sure. I don't have it in front of me.
Seems like it. At least, and what were they? They were top 5, weren't they? Or
Number
maybe
6, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you got to figure that was at least a Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the second thing I have is there's been one community takeover of a sub 10K token, a rune called Waddle Waddle Pingu, which apparently was actually etched by Farmer Joe. This man is everywhere, dude. He's becoming I think his play is to become like the anthem of Bitcoin. He's definitely doing that. He's definitely on the right trajectory. So he deployed this Waddle Waddle Pingu. I think it was in like the 2,000 or 3,000 range. And then just did a free and fair distribution, no pre-mine, left it, it kind of died. And then this person called Cold Blood Schiller, who has quite a large account, basically promoted or put like a long post about how he's taking it over and is going to run it. And so, this reminded me of, this is what happens on Solana, right? I'm sure you can talk to the T of this. Whenever a dev completely rugs a token, the community comes in and tries to buy the supply at pretty much pennies, and then try to rebuild it.
Yep.
What's your take on community takeovers of runes? Do you think this is something that is a one-off situation or a larger trend?
It's a tough call. It's like, is the meme going to be good enough? It's just so hard to differentiate. And I think this actually leans into the idea of like, okay, are these basically influencer-led meme coins, right? And so do those have good chances? Obviously. I mean, dude, if you have the right influencer tweeting about something, you can just get tremendous traction, especially when these things drop down into the low numbers or near free, right? So yeah, certainly in the short term, those things can have ridiculous pumps. And when you get a big influencer like that, what do you have? 250,000 followers. It seems pretty easy. If people were buying in at whatever, few $100K market cap, it's easy. I don't know what it's at now, but I wouldn't doubt it's at $15-20 million or something like that. It's an easy 10x, 20x for these guys.
Yeah, we are getting some interesting pumps. The Donald Trump, which unlocked recently, it was in etch number 294. It is up like 10x in a day. What I've noticed some of these people are doing is there's like these tokens that are unlocking for mints that a lot of people aren't paying attention to, that a lot of these apes just come in and inscribe it all away. Okay, Waddle.
Unlocked, does that mean somebody set like a block height for them to be available to mint? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, there's been a handful of these that in like the sub 1,000 area that people are not paying attention to, including myself. Right, you had like Running Bitcoin recently, which is the Hal Finney one. It's number 91. I'm surprised it's still 500K market cap even after his birthday. But we look at the top 10 or so, and then Dogfather, I promise I'm gonna get to you. You got Arsic and Dog, and then which are both at 220 million. And then really second place, you have Decentralized, which is Cyberkongs at number 3, all the way down to a $36 million market cap, right? So you're saying literally Arsic and Dog are like 95% of the market cap of the entire ecosystem. Now, granted, you still do have Magic Internet Money, which is Wizard, and you have Pups to both migrate over as well, which will compete. I think those 4 will probably be the top tokens. And then you have Satoshi Nakamoto, Zbit, Lobo the Wolf Pup, and Wenko Menko to round out the top 10. And then you have like kind of like, this is probably where you could find a lot of value. Things like Rune X Bitcoin, I'm unsure of. This one's funny. BAMK of Nakamoto dollar is supposed to be bank, and it's a stablecoin project, but they spelt it wrong. So they're kind of running with it.
That's really bullish. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's hilarious. There's been a few stablecoin projects that I've seen pop up on Runes. Now, granted, right, they have to go through regulatory practice and some other aspects of it. Of course, like importing the value. So it'd be interesting to follow. Gob is Gob. This is the book of, what's it called? Book of Gob, I think.
Yep.
And then it's mostly meme coins right after that. So still waiting for some of these projects to come out and capture the market. What's up, Dogfather? GM to you.
Hey, GM. Yeah, first of all, Jake, congrats on your CEO role. I think
Thank
that's worth mentioning. We haven't talked to each other since nomination, or I don't know how you call that, but it's pretty cool to see how you guys moving forward. And yeah, the runes. I mean, the runes market. So I think you have to zoom out a lot. I mean, people are now complaining that prices are down, and I mean, this is a brand new asset class, a brand new protocol, and people complain about these dips. I mean, Bitcoin went down 80% in the bear market, right? I mean, and these are like, this is a completely new protocol. You should assume that the volatility is like 5 times higher. So even 95% down would be something I mean, you should be, expecting, right? So it's like high risk, high reward, right? So don't be surprised that this is a volatile market. So if you don't have free cash and some patience, you need to be a super good day trader to make some money, right? And what I found pretty important to note, and then I put that here in the comments, was a very interesting dashboard by one of these Dune wizards, and he's basically showing that the complete fungible token market moved from BRC20s to runes. So this will be the de facto fungible token market. Really,
Wow.
like a completely destroyed BRC20s.
Wow.
At least at the moment, right? I mean, maybe you can pin this up if you like. So this was really something when I was like, okay, I don't care about any of these dips. I mean, this is a long-term play for me. This is now the de facto fungible token market. If there's nothing like BRC20, I don't know, somehow reviving this protocol in some way, I think this is the place to be on Bitcoin if you believe in the thesis that fungible tokens are something you need on your chain. I think this is a no-brainer just to pack your bags, not looking at the charts, and just have it as a conviction play. I'm not saying any tickers here, but this is a no-brainer. This just takes some time, and it's a healthy correction. You had all these airdrops. It's not surprising that people with a
Oop, did he just rug?
pricing.
We got you back, man. We got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, always when I'm talking, my girlfriend is
She's probably calling him again. Yeah, I have here pulled up this chart. It's quite wild. I mean, it's literally, so it's share transactions, Bitcoin transactions by type. And beginning on the halving April 20th, it's literally just all pink, which is the color that they have runes highlighted in this graphic. It is uncomparable. There is literally the entire chart.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
here it says the shares about 81% since the halving. This leads to a question, and I've talked about this with a few other communities as well. With runes coming in and being the lead dog, do they take the complete market share away? What happens with BRC20? And then what about these other, fungible token standards? I'd like to note here, the track and tap ecosystem as, something we talked about last week. And moving into this week, tap is actually, I think it's this week or next week or something. They're doing basically their pre-sale for the TAP token of the official TAP ecosystem on CoinList. CoinList is like not an easy launchpad to get listed on. It's been around, I think, since like 2015 or 2016, 17. It's been around for quite a long time. And some popular projects went through there, like Solana and a few other ones, right? So do these other fungible token standards just basically, pack up shop and say that it's over? We know BRC20 2.0 is supposed to come. I've personally talked with Benari about it. He's like one of the lead designers behind it. And it sounds like it's going to be, I think, more focused on utility and functionality. From what he had explained to me, it's a little bit, again, above my comprehension, but he's supposed to put an EVM inside of each ordinal so that it allows you to have EVM functionality within the BRC20 or something of that nature, which I think at this point in time, you're not going to compete with Runes on a native functionality level. So you need to add something different that's going to spark some interest. And on the other side, I would say TAP is probably best in line to compete with Runes on a native functionality level, would be my opinion. What do you think, Dogfather?
I mean, at the end, I think it's relatively simple. So Casey is like the superstar who invented and popularized the ordinals. Now he has this fungible token standard backed, by the key devs. It's like in the protocol. So that alone, I mean, whatever is like 5% more or less efficient doesn't matter here. I mean, this is like the official token standard, period, right? And if you want to do something like on gaming, metaverse, or high level kind of like utility, maybe you need something else. But I mean, if I were a dev, I mean, would I go to some Plan B protocol, or would I go to the official protocol? I mean, me as a dev, I think this is relatively simple to answer. I would go to the official one, right? And then this is where the action should happen. But I mean, the TAP guys are pretty cool. I mean, they have this large funding. They definitely know what they're doing. So yeah, let's not rule those guys out. And also like the BRC20 crowd. But on as you're saying, like the native, the core stuff, like the meme coins, this will be very hard to compete with. And you already see it in the numbers, right? I mean, you see it that, I mean, who's like minting anything new on BRC20? I mean, there's nothing new coming. Yeah, I think that I'm not saying game over for BRC20s, but most of the attention is now on the new and official token standard.
Yep. And Domo's aware of it, and Benari and a handful of the other ones that are working on it. I think Unisat has, the most to lose in this situation out of anyone. They came in and they were first to the market with Runes, and they had some initial attention. And then they started issuing, unintentionally, some cenotaphs, and people's funds started getting burned. And Magic Eden came in, very smart business decision, and released their Runes marketplace a day early to capture, the negative sentiment against Unisat. And they haven't let go since. So Unisat now, right, they've lost the Runes market, so that they need to go back to what their bread and butter is, and that's BRC20. I mean, they bodied basically Domo to take over the protocol, and they haven't done anything since. So I would say Unisat is the most to lose here if they don't figure out BRC20, because that's what built them up. And it doesn't look like they're going to be getting the Runes market share back. Here's a wild stat, actually. So on Cinco de Mayo, there were 235,000 Bitcoin transactions and 385,000 Runes transactions. So you're saying Runes was almost 50% more transactions throughout Cinco de Mayo than anything else. And on a smaller scale, there were 3,500 BRC20 transactions and 2,000 Ordinals transactions. So Runes is just absolutely dominating everything. Of course, fungible transactions are always going to be much higher,
Sure,
than non-fungible transactions, but I think that's quite telling.
Yep.
When we're looking at this data, Adam, what is this telling you?
I mean, I would preface it only by saying we are still early in the process, but I vibe with what Dogfather said, which is just it almost feels like game over for BRC20. Maybe they come up with some functionality that is a home run and everybody switches back, but it just at this point in time, it doesn't seem like that. That's the vibe right now. Could change, but if I'm betting on runes right now for sure.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to say. And one final thing on the topic, I put this out yesterday. The battle for King of Bitcoin. This is from just the fungible token perspective. You have Ordi is still number 1, and number 2 is Sats. So the top 2 tokens are still BRC20s. You have Ordi at 850 million, and Sats is at 580 million. This is the stats from yesterday. In second place, you have Pups, which is a combination of BRC20 ordinals and Solana, is around $300 million. That was created by Farmer Joe. Right. So you're taking a levered bet essentially on him as well, who's doing exceedingly well in the attention economy. I think he's up to 28,500 followers. And then right after that, you have Arsic and Dog that are basically tied. And you have Rock Toshi backing Arsic, and then you have Leo backing Dog. Right under that, you have Wizard, right, which is Magic Internet Money, which is a combination right now of BRC20 and Ordinals, which will be migrating to runes. That's backed by Maven's Bot. And also, you have Ansem, who's backing Pups and Wizard as well. And on the lower end, for some of the other protocols, you have Stamp is still hanging around $75 million. That's SRC20. And then you have Atom from Atomicals is sitting at a $65 million market cap. And that's ARC20. And that was deployed by, I think it was deployed by an Anon, because I don't think the creator of Atomicals was the one that deployed it. Maybe it was him. But, I would say this is when you look at the people who've created these top tokens, they're all definitely large leaders in the space, right? Domo, Raktoshi, Farmer Joe, Leonidas, Mavens, all these people. I think the lowest follower account here, I think it's like 25,000 followers or something of that nature.
Yep.
It looks like with the Rune Dev has 13,000, but there's multiple accounts and stuff of that nature. Adam, one final question on this, and then we'll go to Dogfather. Is it healthy for Bitcoin to have many competing fungible token standards, and also to have 5 or so major tokens that are going to compete for the top spot and mindshare? Does this pull attention away from essentially backing a leader, or does it generate more interest from the overall ecosystem?
Short term, it definitely pulls attention away. Long term, it's better for everybody, though. Being free market guys, I think we all agree it's the competition, and the one that the people really want rises to the top. So I'm a big believer in that. I push back when people try and we saw it all last year when ordinals happened. Anytime something else came out, like Litecoin ordinals or stamps or whatever, you got tremendous pushback from the ordinals community, fighting for that mindshare. And I totally get it, because it does split and fracture mindshare. But that kind of competition and that build out is important. And I think at the end of the day, will drive more attention to basically the winner at the end. But that might be another year or two to finally get there. But when it does, it'll kind of consolidate. Most of this stuff will go to zero, and we'll have kind of consolidation on like the main tech that we use. At least that's what we've seen historically in crypto.
Yeah, I completely agree. Dogfather, what's your take?
Yeah, Jake, what I like with your pinned post with the battle for King of Bitcoin, you see that there's really no fresh money flowing into the ecosystem. So basically, what was taken away at Audi, Sats, and some other BRC20 that are not migrating flowed into runes. I mean, if you add up the numbers, I know it's not 1-to-1, but it doesn't look like we really have like the hundreds of thousands of Solana degens already in there. So it's still this ecosystem that's now shifting some funds from BSC20s and some other protocols to runes, but it's not, the big bang everyone is waiting for. So it's just taking time. So I think, Adam, you're right. We're just very early. And I mean, at the end, maybe Bitcoin is not the best chain for meme coin trading. All these frictions that you have.
Hey, don't put our bags, Dogfather. That's unfucking acceptable, bro. No, we've talked about it a lot, man, right? It's like, is this going to work on Bitcoin, right? And, we'll see, yeah.
But I mean, this is a technical thing you may be able to solve. And I mean, at the end, if you don't need it like in your own wallet and you go to OKX, Gate, and all the others like Binance, you can trade like you always trade your stuff. It's just not like in your wallet. Many people don't care, right? They just gamble with a little money. And you can already do that nowadays, right? It's not on Binance yet, but it's on OKX. So Runecoin is on, so the ASIC one is on OKX. You have a bunch of like Dog and Satoshi is on Gate. So you can already like trade relatively frictionless if you don't care about this little tiny not my keys, not my rune issue. But you already can do that, right? And most people don't care anyway. So, but let's see. Maybe Bitcoin is like the ideal chain for very expensive PFPs and crazy cool generative artworks, but maybe not so much for meme coins. I doubt it, but I mean it can be the case that everyone wants to do these things on Solana, but maybe not on ETH anymore, and maybe not on Bitcoin, right? We will see.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, the Bitcoin ecosystem is evolving, and I think with a temperament in runes, some of these other ecosystems have opportunities to really play a little bit of catch up. I mean, some more updates that I saw over the last few days. Ghosty Cash, which is a swap tool. So if you're familiar with Ghosty Cash, it actually has a associated BRC20. I think it's GHSTY, something like that. It's a swap tool. They integrated Dog and runes. They also integrated Lightning Network and like a handful of other protocols. So I'm starting to see this across infrastructure companies where they're not just adding support for one individual protocol like runes. They're just doing the spray and pray, where they're like, hey, we'll just integrate everything, and we know one of these or a few of these are going to be winners. So that's gonna be interesting. Basically, here you can swap your Dog for Ethereum, for BSC. There's like 50 something assets there, so that's really cool. In the multi-chain world, also yesterday we saw Gamma come out and basically announced they're calling it special sats platform. Essentially, it's just to bring your own sat, which I thought was pretty cool. I think it was called the Uncommoners or Commoners. Remember the 10K uncommon mint? Basically, that was bring your own uncommon sats, and then they provided the images for you to inscribe on the set. Gamma basically just took that entire idea and just built a full platform, basically for creators and for collectors, they said. So basically how this goes is that they work with artists. Gamma has really doubled and tripled down on art on Bitcoin. So, right, they're going to be, I think essentially their goal is to be, the super rare of sorts on Bitcoin, even to the degree that they've partnered with super rare. So
seems like a terrible model, but just to digress.
Yeah. Gotta love artists, but it's a tough game for now. It just really has not hit. And there's no royalties on Bitcoin. Right. Although here for the platform provider, they were doing open editions, and if you remember, open editions was just printing money for Manifold back in the day. $1 to $5 per open edition mint for the platform. Times that by hundreds of thousands, it adds up quite quickly. But with Gamma, essentially, they partner with a collector or a creator. The creator provides the art. And then they basically say, and then you can select what type of different sat that you want to inscribe on. So here they have like pizza sats, common sats. They mentioned that they were going to leverage, different types of dates. Doesn't have to essentially be like an existing Satribute or the Rortimer Rarity Index. It can be whatever custom UTXO that they have here, special Saturn custom UTXO. So pretty cool. Will it be used? To be determined at the end of the day, but cool to see that they're doing something a little bit newer and different. On the other side, X-Chain, which has been the long time counterparty explorer since, I believe, 2017, has been acquired by Dankist. They honestly kind of pulled an Emblem vault because Dankist is also owned by JDog.
Yeah. I think he's just shifting new partners, new team. Understandable. So basically, as far as I know, I just read the press release like you, but yeah, it seems like basically he's selling all of his assets to this kind of new company, and they go forward. So now it's going to be known as
Token Scan.
Token Scan rather than X-Chain. Yep.
Yeah. So I have actually literally, person just messaged me a few minutes ago. It is a group of multiple people. I'll keep the names private, but the cool part here is that it's multi-chain, and they literally say this here: X-Chain properties will serve as the foundation for the upcoming multi-chain X-Chain platform developed by Dankist. We've talked to JDog multiple times about this, but as a Reform maxi, Bitcoin maxi, right? It is kind of interesting to see he was against everything as somebody who also fought the stamp spam, quote unquote, right, for a long time. He's completely pivoted his worldview and is now building for multiple chains for somebody who is essentially a Bitcoin maxi for 10 years or so. I know he did dabble in Dogecoin for a little bit, but it was like closeted. It wasn't really publicly known. Bullish or bearish on this, Adam? Do you think this pans out? And then also, do you think JDog could be a role model for some of these other maxi builders to adventure out into the larger industry?
Well, I mean, I'm bullish on the maxis changing, and I think I see it actually all over X now. In the last years, and I credit Ordinals, like full stop, with just opening everybody's eyes back up to kind of what was happening on Bitcoin by this very, very small cabal of guys. And I think people have really woken up to it, and it's great to see. I mean, I know we're trying to get Ray Youshef on, who runs No One's app. I don't know if you guys know it. It's like a peer-to-peer app where you can trade Bitcoin and crypto, peer-to-peer all over the world. And like, dude, he was the hardest core Bitcoin maxi. Like he owned this company called Paxful before. I don't know if you know it, but it was the same thing. It was a peer-to-peer platform. Dude, they literally took off Ethereum. You couldn't trade any other thing but Bitcoin. It was the most hardcore. He was the most hardcore Bitcoin maxi. And I've been on a couple spaces with him now, and like his eyes are open again. He's like, holy cow. We've been hoodwinked, right? What I thought we were signing up for, freedom money, as he puts it. And what we got was store of value. Like, I didn't sign up for store of value. I signed up for freedom money. And so I think that's kind of running through, the Bitcoin OGs like mindset. Like, what are we doing now? And can we, Bitcoin's something still. We still believe in Bitcoin, the core technology, but what are we going to do going forward? And I think people are changing their stance, which is awesome, bro. I mean, anybody who can change their mind on something, like, that's what we all should be able to do. So I completely applaud it. And I hope Jade, I don't know exactly what they're doing with the new company. It's going to be exciting to see, but I wouldn't bet against JDog.
Yeah, he's a smart guy, and some of the people that are working with him are also quite intelligent people, to say the least. So exciting time to be alive. This is fresh, just came out literally, I think, an hour or two ago. We got another Bitcoin L2 raise.
Jesus Christ.
This one for 11.
It's a zero.
11.5.
Come on, dude.
$11.5 million. Adam's favorite trend, Bitcoin L2.
Guys, Emblem, Jake, can we get this? You're the CEO now. Can we please pivot to becoming a Bitcoin L2?
It's kind of going that way, to be honest.
It's crazy. There's no way. Wait, tell me who this is. I need to know who was part of this race.
Yeah, so we have Placeholder, is pretty popular. Polychain's pretty popular. Both of those are not Bitcoin-based capital firms, if I believe. ABCED, this was one of the backers of Taproot. UTXO, that's a Bitcoin magazine. I don't know.
Wait, who's the team behind this?
So it's called Botanics Lab. I was actually just researching this the other day. And so they're building something called a spider chain, which I'll try to explain without having the docs in front of me. Again, why did all these always say the first EVM L2 on Bitcoin? It's just like, dude, we come
already.
Dude, we come from historical NFT roots, and I like when people are first, but I'm starting to get to the point whenever anybody says they're first on something, I'm not interested anymore. I'm talking about changing my own opinion. So from my understanding, Spider Chain, I'll try to pull it up here. It has to do something with like rotating and multi-party computation keys. So they're saying like the main critic of these Bitcoin L2s that are EVM based is that they're all locked in all the assets are locked in a multi-sig, right? And therefore it's deemed a security risk. So I read these docs like a week ago. So here, their solution with the spider chain was rotating those MPC keys using some other key.
So wait. So it's a multi-sig, just with more steps.
With more steps. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to find the docs here.
Bro.
It's like they're rotating the keys to the multi-sig wallet between their node providers. And they'd use some sort of like ZK infrastructure or something like that. It's interesting, and that's what they call it, a spider chain. I guess people are so interested they're going to give them $12 million to do it, right?
Wait, who's the team behind it? Do we know anybody? Any of these guys?
No, we
Are they anonymous? Come on.
No, one of the reason how I found them is they were on Laura Shin's show like last week. If you go to that show, we'll go to it in a second. So here's the definition. So the spider chain, a dynamic and ever-evolving set of decentralized multi-signature wallets that secure all the actual Bitcoin on Botanics. The spider chain consists of a distributed network of multi-sigs safeguarded by a randomized subset of participants, making a truly decentralized protection mechanism. Does that make sense to you, Adam?
No, not at all. Sounds like bullshit to me. Sounds like bullshit to me. I mean, just tell us it's a multi-sig, and okay, the keys are distributed, or just
they're rotating the multi-sig is what they're doing.
Awesome, but it's still a multi-sig. I mean, who cares? Like, okay, you've just made it. I mean, for me, looking at that, do I have more trust in that, or if it's just Pac-Man holding the I'd prefer it's just one kind of trustworthy dude to hold the keys to the multi-sig. Frankly, you moving the keys around, that makes me fucking worried, dude. Like, that makes me fucking terrified, that those keys are just going to get, sent to a dead address, or God help us, man. I don't know. Chris, go ahead, man.
Yeah. Yo, so good. I'm happy that you listened to that episode 2 of Laura Shin's Unchained. It's kind of a primer on all of the Bitcoin L2s. And I mean, Adam, I think you would get a kick out of it. It's definitely a good primer, but she's kind of talking through the thought experiments as well, and pretty kind of confused by a lot of the concepts in general. She definitely poses the question, like, isn't this basically just a multi-sig, quite a few times throughout the entire episode?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of shocking that this is where we are. I mean, I love the experimentation. Obviously, I think Placeholder is one of the best VCs in the space. So I don't want to doubt, that there's true innovation there, but it definitely seems we're trying some things, but I don't know if it's going so well at the moment. But if anyone gets a chance, definitely listen to that Bitcoin Layer 2 primer by Laura Shin. Let me try and find it. I'll pin it up top.
Yeah, she's a really good interviewer because she comes from Forbes. So, traditional media, you got to be pretty staunch and really direct within your questioning. So if you need someone to get grilled, she will definitely, she definitely does it. Chris, I'd be interested though to hear like what's your opinion on Bitcoin L2s once you're done pinning it up there. I know you dabble in all these different ecosystems, and now you're taking a little bit more of a focus on Bitcoin. any of this stuff kind of interest you as an investor? And then on the other side, do you think any of these Bitcoin L2s have, sustainability and can maybe survive through this next upcoming bear market when that does happen?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not the biggest layer 2 fan. Obviously I was a huge Solana fan for a long time. Really kind of interested in like a single global state. I do, I am into multi-chain and interoperability, something like Emblem. I think that is kind of the most first principles based way to innovate. But a lot of these multi-sigs or L2s, you're basically just transacting on another chain that could settle to Bitcoin, more of like a sidechain settlement protocol, and you're giving up all of your risk assurances. So you're trading the security of Bitcoin for the transaction confirmations, which in the industry today, that's not really, no one's really doing faulty transactions. No one has any doubt that the transaction throughput is getting guaranteed on the from the node operators. It's really about how your funds are being kind of commingled and what's the security based around your funds. So I think that people just aren't aware of how much security they're really trading off to participate in a lot of these layer 2s. I don't think that there's anything super interesting that I've seen in terms of Bitcoin. I'd really like to see a lot more just Bitcoin native apps rather than Bitcoin focused on other chains kind of applications. I think building in the village that we're in today is kind of a better bet than what a lot of these people are doing. But obviously the market for whoever hits the first really successful Bitcoin L2 is kind of where the market's going. So kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. I mean, people are going to play and people are going to try to build these multi-chain experiences. It's not completely there. I did put a post up right before this that I have unstaked all of my Merlin assets, at least the ones that I wanted to, and they did come in 7 days, like they said. So, you have Stacks that has their, if you're just talking about the Bitcoin L2 landscape, you have Stacks that had pushed their Nakamoto upgrade back by, I think, 4 months. So now it's in September. This will increase the transaction throughput. The thing with Stacks is it's built in its own language, Clarity, so that it could be quote unquote more native or compatible with Bitcoin. And it's definitely, I would say, the more institutionalized kind of L2. I think it'll still continue that way. Outside of that, I would say you have probably Merlin in second, although I don't think they've really done a good job at building what that identity is. I put this in my post, right? Their whole vision was initially to build a bitmap ecosystem, to build gaming and things on top of bitmap, which at the time sounded great, right? Because you're like, okay, if there's 800,000 or 840,000 bitmaps and all of these need to do one single transaction, right? You're not going to get you're not going to get anything through. So this obviously has to go to an L2 layer or some sort of dApp application. Although the first 2 months or 3 months just basically became Ponzi-nomics, to attract attention. And I thought they didn't do a good job at leaning into the reason why people were there, which was to have synthetic bitmap tokens, right? Bitmap. They didn't promote that at all. It just became about airdrops and ICOs. So I think they did do themselves a little bit of disservice, although they can't really control what people are building on their platform, but they can put attention on whatever it is. And so I think they are going to have to go through a little bit of a rebranding phase of deciding on what's the next vision, right? Like what do I do now? Everything's unstaked. I did keep my bitmap there because I do believe that's what they're building for. Also, it costs
Yeah, it's like, what else
0.0008
you gonna do with
Bitcoin
it?
every 10, so it's going to cost me like $1,000 to unstake all of these. Which I get. They got to make money too, but I truly think that's what they're building for, bitmap. So I was just like, there's no point to try to unstake these because this is probably where all the attention's going to go for now. And then outside of that, right, you have Bob that just launched, so congrats to them. I did go on their space that Emblem is planning on deploying on Bob. They're really excited. They do want to incentivize rare Pepes on Bob. That's the alpha for you. So if you have some rare Pepes in vaults, once we're done with Emblem 2.0 and we deploy on there, I think them and Bitcoin, I think, are the two focuses. They do want to lean into rewarding rare Pepe and fake rare community in some capacity there. So stay attention to that. But outside of that, dude, it feels like it's just all out war. Like a lot of these, we've talked with most of these L2s from the Emblem side, and I'm gonna be honest, there's like 2 or 3 that really sounded like they had any type of a fundamental understanding of the technology. And then I would say the latter half really just wanted to have an Emblem partnership announcement without even having a product. I see Adam laughing.
Could you guys just tweet about my shit so our token can go up? Yeah, man. I just, and even the big ones that are supported on Ethereum, like I am not fully sold that the crypto space needs L2s right now. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, yes, we all understand this idea of like, oh, the transactions are going to get so expensive, so it needs to move to an L2. But what did we see when Stacks actually had traction, man? Stacks literally folded under the traction. And, that hasn't happened on Ethereum. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the L2s on Ethereum that have kind of, have some fun games. I think they are actually doing what Bitcoin hopes to do and these L2s hope to do, which is create like interesting games or something to bring people over. Maybe we want to talk about that in a bit after we get to the hands.
Yeah, we'll go to Bit Goddess. First, good to see you. It's been a little while, and then we'll go to Chris right after.
Yeah, Jay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Still need to unvault my punks out of out of the vaults. But I just wanted to add a few things. So I think there's Meso in terms of L2. There's Meso, MEZO. They're funded by Pantera Capital. I went to their session where Stacks and Meso spoke just recently. I think if you go to their website, the video just came out like about a week ago. And then there's also BitLayer, which is also doing an L2. They're just oversubscribed and fully funded. So you might want to check that out. It's bitlayer.org. And then Spider Chain is actually pretty old. I think if you go to Bitcoin Magazine, there's articles about them from a long time ago. Along with Space Chain and some of the other projects. They might just be, I don't know if they're getting funding as a new project or just getting new funding. But it seems interesting. But yeah, that's just my little thing.
Well, it's good to know that that's an experienced team. That's probably where the capital comes from. I've actually learned this over the last year and a half of being at Emblem. A lot of these raises that are announced or sometimes have been some of these raises that are announced have been ongoing for multiple years, sometimes 2 or 3 years. Like I know the On-Chain Monkey announcement, they had been raising for 2 years before they announced that raise, and same with Xverse and stuff. So sometimes you don't really know how long these raises have been going on for. So just wanted to add a note there. Chris, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of this is really path dependent. Like when we think back to Ethereum and like DeFi summer leading into DAOs and NFTs and kind of meme coins along the way not being the sole focus. And then the same kind of playbook was run once again on Solana. But what you do there is you kind of like foster an original community. When we're just building on layer 2s on Bitcoin, we're basically kind of like, pushing out any true Bitcoin fans already. We're already kind of taking a pretty big leap by, installing all these fungible token standards. That's something new that they haven't gotten used to. It's kind of counterintuitive to the original Bitcoin thesis. And then we're just jumping straight to trying to market to all these other degens on these other chains without like really allowing a kind of organic community to grow and find its own culture. So I think that we're kind of moving almost too fast. And I think we should really be building kind of locally rather than kind of, reaching out and trying to bring in all these other degens from all these other communities. Just my thoughts.
It's a great point. Totally.
Once you start putting these VC dollars in front of people, they're like, yo, let's ship it right now.
Ship it, man. Ship it.
I think that's truly, I believe that's what happened with Merlin Chain. They started getting tailwinds that there's a bunch of people racing for L2s, and they're like, fuck, we need to put this out as soon as possible. Fork it, whatever, we'll fix it later kind of situation. And then Yeah. When you look at like the ETH2 ecosystem, it also took what 5, 6, 7 years really to mature. I think if I remember correctly, Arbitrum and Polygon did an ICO in 2017. All right. So they're thinking about that. And I believe Arbitrum, the idea was around the same time, and it took them multiple years.
Yep.
And then you had Optimism. Those are the three kind of what I call like the generalized kind of L2s. And then you have Base that's basically building using the Optimism stack. Right? I guess you could say those are kind of like the 4 mainstream ones. Although Base is still, right, it's going to basically integrate with Coinbase. So it's not a general purpose one. It's more of this is an extension of Coinbase on chain. And then it starts to become very hyper specialized, right? With Blast kind of leading the way there, where they're like, yeah, we don't need a general purpose. We're just building a fucking casino is basically what we're doing, right? Or we're building the hyper gamified layer 2 for Ethereum assets.
Yeah.
And, right, they got the whole points system going on, and it has sparked some innovation and a lot of interest. I mean, I don't know if you've gone through Blast, and I've been doing this the last few weeks, not with like a large amount of capital, but just to kind of get the experience. Everything is points and earnings, and you gotta do this to get more points and jackpots and stuff. And it's been going well. I think it's been shining a lot more attention on SocialFi, like with Fantasy Top. I've been playing. I was dabbling around with the testnet, and then you got to buy these packs for super cheap, like 0.03 ETH. Now they're selling for 0.33 ETH to get these packs. So I think I'm up like 10x on like my initial investment. Although they have these tournaments, and it's all tied to X. All of these are. Friendtech is tied to X. The Fantasy Top is tied to X, right? All of these are. So essentially all these SocialFi apps are just Twitter L2s. Honestly. They really are. I do think there is a possibility. This is a little bit kind of like not on chain, but I do think some of these SocialFi apps are going to cause a huge mental crisis for some of these people, because you look at Fantasy Top, and I've been thinking about this over the last few days. You have these individuals who are tied to these cards, right? And in order for the value of these cards to go up, they have to tweet more. And it means now their social media accounts are now tied to financial performance.
God dang.
And if you've been a founder or a builder in this space, you know that once you put a token out, right, you can never leave. Your whole identity is tied to the value of this token. So now your identity is tied even more to the financial performance of your Twitter account. And yes, you could game it, and you can bot it, or you can have the echo chamber just continuously repost your stuff. But once the music stops, right, some of these people that had so much engagement, it's just going to fall off a cliff, and people are just going to basically stop following you because you had caused them to lose money or whatever the count is. I think for most it'll be fine, but I do think this, unfortunately, may be one of the tragic kind of side effects from this like hyper socialization game I guess financialization of social media, I guess is like the best way to put it. I see Adam shaking his head and smiling. Do you think the same?
Dude, 100%. 100%. It's making, well, you and I both know, like, because we're in the social media space, been in it for years, and you just know when you begin basically making content for the algorithm, and you have to kind of be conscious of it, because you can very easily fall down this road where, oh, this type of content got responses and got me attention. And we've seen it. Like, you just see people who just fall down this rabbit hole and then realize they wake up, 6 months later and just realize they can't make other content. And the moment you do, and I literally just tweeted with somebody today who was somebody from 21 NFT guy, and he's like, I don't understand this. He's like, I got 70,000 followers. I put out this tweet about, I don't know, it was a Blast or some other thing he tweeted about, and the algo has decided that content it's not going to happen. He had like 300 views, on a piece of content that he thought was like valuable for his followers to like learn about this L2 or whatever. and the algo is just like, nope. And it's really, if your livelihood is in any way tied to that, it can be really rough. I think it's really, really rough. So you add this financialization casino on top of it, like, Lord help us, man. It can get really bad really quick. I mean, just really bad. But tell us more about this fantasy top. I need to, I've bbeen on a couple spaces. I know it's my personal view just from the outside, because I have not played, is just these do not, all the ones we've seen so far, it is a spiraling Ponzi that ends very, very quickly. But tell us your first thoughts.
Yeah, I would say this one's probably a little bit more sustainable. It depends on if this kind of thing interests you. So basically what you do is there's packs, these packs of cards, and when you purchase this pack of card, which is now 0.3 ETH to do, so it's $1,000 to buy these packs. You get 5 cards, and maybe it's 6 cards, 5 or 6 cards. On these cards are right now there's 150 different quote unquote influencers that are crypto Twitter kind of influencers you could get. And there's 4 different rarities. There's common, rare, epic, and legendary. And in order to level up to these different rarities, you have to have 5 of the card, and you burn all 5 and it gives you the next rarity, right? So if you are not fortunate enough to open up, a rare card and you get all commons, for example, I have like a Fubar. I bought 5 Fubar floor cards and then burnt all of them, and you get like the next level, which is like rare, which is right the second out of 4 would be right the second most common, I guess. And when you have these cards, you then put them in tournaments, and there's a variety of tournaments you could do. Right now, the main tournament is happening now, which is going on for 4 days. In this tournament, the fantasy top team has allocated an X amount of Blast Gold, which right now the speculative value is about $10 per Blast Gold, right? That's having Blast come out at like a $1 billion FTV valuation, which I think most of these people believe. They think it could be the highest airdrop of the year, which I think does definitely have some potential there.
Sure.
Right. So that's the low end, right? If you say it comes out at 15 billion FDV, you could say these things are like $100 at the right, $100 in Blast Gold. And they're also giving away, so Fantasy Top's also giving away like cards, and they're also giving away Ethereum as well from the fees. And during this 3-day tournament, those cards that you used, so if I used like an Adam, Chris, Jake, Bit Goddess, and On-Chain Hustlers card, by the amount of engagement activity that happens on your account over the next 3 days, has an effect on the point total of your tournament. And then based off the rarity of the card that you had, so if I had a legendary Adam, then the engagement that you'd put up is multiplied by times or whatever.
I mean, we just know that is going to end. First of all, it's going to end in people getting banned off Twitter, which is
that was my first thought. Yeah,
that is because I mean it's real easy. You could go on whatever Fiverr right now, and I could bot your account. You don't even need to bot your own account. You can bot somebody else's account, and dude, that I mean, it's like you can just see, bro, how that could be completely manipulated and like cause damage to people's like social media accounts. Which is frankly terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, Thread Guy had an interesting kind of point as well. He was like, I never agreed to put my IP on these cards. He's like, I never agreed to it. Although whoever's in the first round of the 150, it looks like they're all going to get paid out about 3 ETH each from the fees. So of course, right, you throw $10,000 at somebody and they're just like, yeah, okay. But it does lead to this kind of interesting question about personal IP, right? About your likeness and your image. As SocialFi gets bigger, these SocialFi platforms are going to have to compete with each other, right, for attention. And they're going to have to start going down the board to different people that are not just the top 150 social media influencers, because these people are going to get burnt out, or they decide, hey, I like FriendTech or I like SocialFi and I can't be everywhere. And so they start going down the board to, smaller accounts, or they go to these different accounts that are not in the crypto space, right? And they try to do it for Paris Hilton or for whoever, because they have larger accounts and can reach, a larger audience. Do these social-fi platforms come under scrutiny for, infringement on your likeness, and your personal IP is a big question. It was something I hadn't really thought about until he had brought it up. But of course, as everyone's getting paid $10,000 every few weeks, no one's going to say anything until the music stops. Right. What's up, Art Jedi? What do you think?
Hey guys, great conversation. As usual, learning a lot. I had so many comments along the conversation and wanted to start with runes, but just to comment on these Ponzinomics of social IPs, of people, influencers. Do you guys remember in 21 there was something that someone tried that was like Frentech, but like pre-Frentech?
BitClout.
BitClout. Exactly.
That was huge. No, BitClout was huge. Yeah.
Right. But it still didn't take off because a lot of people who were involved in this Web3 kind of initial ideological side of things, they were like, this is just Ponzinomics. And like, I think I was like, I am still against it. And so, but it seems like the same people have infiltrated and come into like utilize these casino side of blockchain and have the same model, but have a bit more gamification as well. So it's just the same ideas, just keep running around in circles, just with a little bit of more iteration, right?
100%.
And right?
Yeah.
That was one comment. And secondly, I wanted to say something about Bitcoin L2s. It's just like the whole idea is a bit boggling to my mind because, like, unlike Ethereum, and Ethereum's still a conversation, there is still a conversation about centralization and decentralization there, but the whole idea of Bitcoin is this decentralized network and independence from, like, it's completely changing from its origin story. And now that we're in the last final stretch of the mining of the last coins, like, if anyone listens to Michael Sill, they probably know what I'm talking about. Like, we have about 10 years of Bitcoin bull run, and then it goes into 100 years of stasis. And so I just wonder, like, people are trying to monetize all of these things, but they're not really, they don't understand like how these different blockchains have evolved and how different communities have evolved around different blockchains as well. And so if people don't have the idea of longevity, a lot of these quick Ponzinomic schemes will just come up, wither and die along with Bitcoin L2. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree there. There's a lot of experimentation happening. There's a lot of probably just clout chasers or people just chasing capital, right? It's this like, hey, if the VCs are throwing money out now, let's just raise capital and kind of figure it out later. Basically raising just off of your brand and identity and maybe just like initial ideas. Yep. A lot of this will eventually go to zero. I mean, like, again, the Bitcoin L2s that I've talked to personally on a phone call, large majority of them didn't display any sort of comprehension about how multi-chain, that multi-chain technology works. They're just completely unaware, which was just kind of blew my mind. It was really the focus for most of these Bitcoin L2s was, hey, let's announce it. Let's get a partnership. Let's announce, and then let's figure out what the partnership means later. And a few of these didn't even have a working product or project.
I mean, let's just think about in the last bull run, we had one L2, Polygon, was basically successful in some way, right? When was the last time you guys interacted with Polygon? Like never? I mean, so to put it in context, and that's not to say the L2s won't succeed this time, right? Because we have seen stuff pops up through multiple cycles and then finally catches. And maybe this is the time it catches. And maybe it's the time it catches on ETH. It's certainly possible, and people are making runs at it. You know,
I'm optimistic for L2s on ETH. I'm optimistic on superchain economies because they're doing things the right way, and it's not just the casinos, it's the building. They're actually building on it, and that's probably like a whole conversation in itself. Like how are these things going to progress? But on Bitcoin L2, it's just if it's just a matter of scaling and making the network efficient for transactions, then there's already Solana and there's already Ethereum.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Sure. And Litecoin. And I mean, we actually were in this conversation last week, which is, why do you even need L2 when you can just bridge to another L1 that does it better? Like, why doesn't the meme coins just all trade on Solana? Because Solana works perfectly for meme coins, right? So why even build an L2? Why not just use Solana? And that's, who knows? Maybe it will shake out that way, eventually. It's certainly a possibility. Bit Goddess, go ahead.
Hi, I gotta go in because I'm leading the DAO governance IEEE thing, and but I just want to say that I think a lot of degens do use L2 because they do farm and a lot of like more degen activities and stuff. So those are kind of useful. Like I myself like have used Optimism, Arbitron, and other stuff. Solana basically breaks down, has network succession, and it's a lot of time. Even when I was using it for Stefan, just to transfer funds into Solana, like it didn't work. I mean, Bitcoin is slow, but it does transfer. I really don't think like just really having been in the space for so long and mentoring so many accelerators in the space. And I know Laura Shin from a while ago. I really don't think we have it yet. We're still in the AOL stage where a lot of things don't function. Like mainnet is still very expensive on ETH. Bitcoin is really slow. Solana doesn't work. I know people who are moving stuff from Solana to Aptos, and everyone knows and hate Aptos because it's a VC funded chain. So it's still Wild West. We don't know which chain will be the chain. It's just like in the internet days when we have like 10,000 browser, and then everyone kind of focuses on Google. We're kind of there yet. So yeah.
I agree with a lot of that. Absolutely. And to Art Jedi's point, it's like so much of this, basically all of it starts with gambling. Like gambling is the beginning of everything. So, I always look at gambling as like, this is how stuff gets built. It's how people get excited. And then, stuff hopefully finds true use cases later, but maybe it doesn't, maybe Solana is just the meme coin chain indefinitely. That's possible too. But gambling does cause the building as far as my view goes.
Yeah, I agree as well. Somebody on our live stream says, any opinion on Tokenly and counterparty utility? I think OTC, BTC, and BTC Pay is the way to go. If you're trading BTC over the counter, man, you're living like 10 years ago. Right? It's unfortunately a lot of these governments are really trying to prevent that from happening.
Yep.
Same with BTC Pay, is a little bit old school. Tokenly's been dead for like 5 years, hasn't it?
Yep.
Right? Okay, that's what I thought.
I mean, like Counterparty smartly tried to introduce, like J-Dog's talked about this, introduce a gambling aspect. There's a way to gamble on Counterparty. It just never took off, right? Wrong timing, bad functionality. We see it again. Look, that's the way business works, right? You don't hit the market right at the right time, or your product doesn't match the market. There's so many factors that cause things to fail. And that's honestly why it's impressive when stuff actually works, right? When meme coins finally hit on Solana, awesome. And it's because of Photon or Proton or any of the wallets. Like the stuff just worked at the same time. It finally clicked. And so I'm all about, encouraging that stuff and encouraging experimentation, realizing that most of it will not click. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, I would say that, on Solana's case, the fact that there are all these meme coins just creating enormous amounts of value in the ecosystem, I think does set it up or position it in a pretty good spot to have a thriving DeFi ecosystem. next run, I guess. Right now, it does seem like at least from, and maybe Chris has a little bit better experience, but it seems like most of the apps that I've seen on Solana are mostly consumer based ones, right? Like Step In and some of these like real world kind of use cases. And they're allowing ETH to kind of focus more on like institutional finance. But what meme coins do, meme coins generally exist in an environment where there aren't any applications, where there's no, right? You're building culture and you're allowing people to speculate and gamble in these early days when there's literally nothing else around, right? I think this is why Leonidas pushes meme coins on runes so hard. This is why people were pushing meme coin season on Base when Base first opened up, right? Because there's literally nothing here. So all we could do is just shit post and dump on each other until something does get built. But you do need to have that kind of generational or that wealth effect or that wealth generation effect to where the community gets rich and then they start building and speculating
100%.
on other things as well. So I think it does set it up Solana really well. One final thing is for ETH-L2s, if ETH-L2s don't work, then ETH is in a very bad position because that's the whole modular blockchain thesis is having.
I'm actually bullish on ETH simply because I do believe I believe Base will work. It's very possible Blast works. You know, I think that is a real bull thesis for Ethereum for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead. We'll go Chris and then Jen right after.
For sure. I mean, you know, I was obviously a Solana bull for the last like 3 or 4 years. And just, you know, the meme coins catching fire is a byproduct of the user experience. So the user experience works really well. So meme coins work really well because it's so frictionless and so easy to use. Transactions settle instantly. But that also leads to the next generation of applications, which is consumer apps. And Big Goddess mentioned Step In. You know, they literally reached millions of users in 2021, and a large majority of them didn't even know that they were using a blockchain. And so when you just look at probability wise, you know, is the path of least resistance, you know, to have another massive consumer application catch fire or to go backwards and have none. So, you know, it's been my thesis for a long time that we'll probably see the next breakout app be built on Solana. And then that will just kind of cause that flywheel to spin even faster of just wealth generation and kind of, you know, ecosystem development and go from there. And, you know, I think Ethereum L2s, I think that they will work. That's how the legacy financial system is structured. It's built in layers. I don't think it's anything new. It's just, you know, finding the right balance between gambling and actual product usage. But I think that Base really kind of is the mainstream L2 that will really be able to find some traction for them.
Yeah, and Chris did talk about consumer apps on Solana years ago when we were working on our last business. So I do remember.
And it was just too early. Yeah, now it's ready.
What's up, Jen?
GM. I forget who was talking when I came in, but talking about how Solana doesn't work, I totally agree. I feel like pretty good at figuring things out. And like I get so frustrated with Solana that like I'll have a good trade up, it'll fail 4 times, I'll forget about it, and then the thing will like 20x. So honestly, if I can't get it through, that's probably your sign to ape. Anything else I've ever done on Solana, not good. But the one thing I will say, and I feel like this really happened with Solana, is like Telegram bot trading. That shit is like the best thing ever. It's also so easy to just like accidentally buy shit. But like it's all emojis. You just hit a button, right? Like that is like fake internet money to the next level. And I feel like if we have that on other chains, that would significantly increase the amount of trading. But I actually really like the thing I really like about Bitcoin, right? And I feel like why runes, it's still small. It's not easy yet, right? Like it's confusing. It is not just click a button on Telegram. There's multiple steps and there's things you have to learn. But I actually think that's a good thing. I will always say like, you know, a Solana coin can like pump and rug in the amount of time of a Bitcoin block. And I feel like for all of our mental health, it's a lot better to not maybe be trading at that speed. But yeah, you know, have fun where you have fun, but
whenever we have the Bitcoin Telegram bots, RIP
Game
to all.
over. I'm with you actually on Solana. I had the same experience when I first started on Solana. Totally failed transaction after failed transaction. Very frustrating. And then somebody hit me up in DMs and was like, dude, go to whatever it is, Photon, whatever that site is, the Photon, where you get your own like Photon wallet. And you have to, but once you do that on Photon, you can adjust the, I don't know, the bribery amounts and stuff like that.
Right. But also, you talk about like, oh, Solana has tiny fees, but when you have to use like crazy slippage and send a bribe every time, like honestly, you know, ETH is pretty dead right now. I'd rather just do one transaction on ETH and like pay the proper gas. I just feel like, you know, it's like Spirit Airlines, right? It's like, oh,
it is.
But then you have to like add on all these other things.
Bro, that's the line right there. Solana is the Spirit Airlines of fucking of blockchain.
That is a good one. That is a good one. Yeah. You know, you do have to bribe miners though, technically, right? This is what mempool sniping is. It's literally whoever wants to get the transaction, they're basically bribing the bot or bribing the miners to get their transaction through. And this is becoming an even more of a contentious kind of idea. I don't know if you saw, I put a tweet out over the weekend about the varying sniping tools that exist. Some of them are completely white label private, and then some of them are just public, like on Magisat. But anytime I talk about sniping, I get multiple DMs of people telling me to remove them from being tagged in the tweet, or right, that it's not supposed to be talked about. Like it's like Fight Club, right? You're not supposed to talk about mempool sniping, although literally everybody is doing it. And there was a post, I think the other day, I think it was from like LIFO or somebody, was talking about ways to fix mempool sniping, because it really is dampening some of the trading experience for some of the new users. Like, what's a worse experience, right? You go to Solana and your transaction fails, or going to Bitcoin and you thought you purchased something and turns out you got sniped on the way there. Like, what is a worse experience in that?
Oh, I'm kind of confused about this. Like, I feel like everyone's freaking out about mempool sniping. But like, this isn't unique to Bitcoin, right? Like, look at like the punk, right? Whenever anyone would place a bid on punks, and like, I feel like this is a functionality of blockchain, right? And it's like something that's great. If you want something done faster, if you want something more, you pay more for it. And I guess like it feels like a call to centralization. And I don't know, it's like that it happens on every chain. I'm kind of confused why everyone is freaking out about it on Bitcoin.
I'd say so with Bitcoin specifically, it's the fact that you go to a marketplace and hit buy, and it looks like you appear to buy it, and then all of a sudden, right? And then even in your activity feed on your activity side, it shows that you had purchased it, but then it's not delivered to you, right? I would say that's different.
Do you get a refund?
But the same thing would happen on OpenSea, right? Like you would try and buy things and it would fail because someone else bought it before you. So I think with Bitcoin, right, obviously it's slower for something to confirm because the blocks are longer, but like it's not totally different.
No, they're similar. They're definitely similar for sure. Just one's proof of work, one's proof of stake. I would say like with ETH, getting front run on an ETH transaction, it never shows that your transaction went through. It just shows
you would still pay. You would still lose the ETH.
You lose the gas fee. Yeah, you do. You know, it comes down to this idea of like, and I think this is where the current discussion is on it, is how do you prevent that from happening, right? It does lead to centralization. And then also from the Magic Eden end, right, from what I was reading, they have to take additional custodial risks, right? They have to take on more liabilities if they do want to prevent mempool sniping. And if you're Magic Eden, right, if you're in a position where you've now spent the last year working on capturing the market, and now you've captured the market, there's not a chance in hell I would introduce more liabilities if I own 70% of the market share, right? So whoever wants to solve this, you saw Magisat come out and do their mempool I think it's called like a mempool marketplace, he's calling it, where you can basically bid on the PSBT or the UTXO while it's in the mempool, right? So I guess that'd be it's kind of like the opposite side of Pump.Fun, right? Pump.Fun, you're trying to get in on the beginning of it, the earliest. With mempool sniping, you're trying to be the last person
So funny, man.
to grab it right before it goes through the door, right? It's kind of the opposite side of it. It does introduce a huge opportunity. If you could be the marketplace that comes out of nowhere and solves this,
oh man,
captures attention, you'd probably rip it all away from Magic Eden.
Dude, I loved your idea of like, hey, the first whatever 20% of people who get the token have to put in a little bit extra, and that becomes the liquidity pool. I thought that was like, bro, somebody does that. Honestly, they should do it on Pump.Fun. It's the one negative about Pump.Fun is that, you know, the first 2 or 3 people who buy basically rug everybody the moment before it's about to go live, right? That's the super negative. And if that was kind of taken off the board, it'd be even better. But yeah, I don't know, man. Who knows?
Yeah, just to catch up, the idea was, and this has to happen through a DEX, right? And people are still building on this, so infrastructure is not completely built, myself included, right? With Jen and I are on the OmniSat core contributing kind of team for it, right? If you have a Runes DEX, for example, right, you would need an LP, and so the idea here was, okay, if I am issuing a token, right, I'm issuing XYZ Rune. And I pre-mine 10% of it. I want to take 5% of that and have it automatically routed into the LP pool, right? So now you have the native token on one side, and then it's like, okay, well, how do we fill it with BTC on the other side? And it would be to put up some sort of either tax, fee, donation, whatever you want to call it, depending on your jurisdiction, right? In this example, we'll use $2, right? Every time you mint something on a Rune, you pay $2, and that goes into the LP on the other side. And then after a Rune has been completely 100% minted out, you now have XYZ Rune and then Bitcoin on the other side for people to participate in and to, right, have liquidity to dump into or to purchase or etc. And so this is the equivalent of what Adam was saying to Pump.Fun would be kind of that idea there. Does it solve mempool sniping? Not really, because this is Runes, although you can be sniped on a Runes purchase. You can't be sniped on a Runes etching. So if you're the first one to etch a Runes, you cannot be sniped on that. But yeah, I saw Casey the other day, I think it was yesterday, people were asking him, why didn't he just use SegWit instead of, right, why didn't you use SegWit wallet instead of Taproot? Because I think with SegWit, you can't have PSBTs. This is what all comes down to is PSBTs.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you could go back to the Stone Age and have dispensers, right, where you can't be sniped, but it's going to take 6 confirmations to get that transaction through, right? So again, this is the security versus scalability kind of conversation.
Well, I like Jen's mental health aspect. Well, let's just make it a mental health aspect. It's slow meme coin trading. This is better for everybody. Let's just go down that road.
I like it.
Like, I'm not saying go outside and touch grass, you know. I'm a big advocate for like consensually touching some ass, you know, like it's nice to have breaks, but I do think in general, right, like for the longevity of coins and anything, right, like if it's not just this instant pump and dump, like then you actually have time for things to grow. And yeah, I do like that factor of Bitcoin, and maybe that's a little bit less degen friendly, but I think for the longevity of all ecosystems, it's good.
So I think what we found out is that if you're a millennial, you're probably aping meme coins on Bitcoin, and if you're Gen Z, you're aping on Solana, right? It's interesting that
Whoa.
the general idea. It's funny.
Oh no, for sure. It's like kids making coins on Solana.
Totally.
I don't even think it's Gen Z. What's under that?
Alpha.
Like, yeah.
Gen Alpha. That's right.
Look, you know, a lot of
there's nothing like getting rugged for $8, bro. That's my
Buy an 8-year-old. Buy an 8-year-old.
Buy an 8-year-old, bro. I just paid for his
none
McDonald's.
of us should be in conversation with 8-year-olds, like unless they are your own children. I just, you know, that's also something to think about.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to say the least. Maybe we'll continue this conversation tomorrow, because I have this draft where was like, if you notice, like all the people who coalesce around SocialFi is all NFT PFP collections, meme coin traders, and influencers, right? Yep. And most of these people are all Gen Z for the most part, right? And it's because they're all their whole all three of these ideas, right? Meme coins, PFPs, and now SocialFi is all built off of engagement and the attention economy, right? So how do they capture it as much? Whereas, you know, on the other side of this, those from like who participate in art, right? If you're like an NFT artist, you're generally a little bit older, a little bit more experienced. If you're on Bitcoin, it's kind of the same situation. So I think some of these, you know, generational gaps are becoming a little bit more identifiable through the community now that I think also too, just being in the space for multiple years, it's, you start to notice, right? And that's just kind of that's the culture of Bitcoin, right? Just know which one that you want to participate in, and which one is more privy to you. At this point in the cycle, it's impossible to play every ecosystem. You will literally probably go crazy, or you will lose everything. Yeah, you'll lose everything because you'll ape into a meta that's been going on or trend that's been going on for 6 months that you don't even realize.
Yep, totally.
So
stay safe out there, guys.
Yeah, be safe. I'm going to wrap this up today. You know, we'll be back tomorrow and we'll be back Thursday as well. Adam, myself, and Chris work at Emblem Vault, the leading cross-chain solution. We do the show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be back tomorrow, probably a little bit more Bitcoin talk. We have a few invites for guests, so we'll see if they can make it out. Jen, appreciate you for joining us, as well as On-Chain Hustlers, Kenny, and everyone who comes in. Dogfather, who's still down there. Any questions, anything like that, always feel free to reach out to us. We have a lot of big things from the Emblem Vault side coming here in the next few weeks, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And until then, guys, we'll be back tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Be safe, avoid the rugs, and hopefully you can hit that next 10x. We will see you tomorrow.